I want to give you a hypothetical scenario. Suppose you're on the golf course and you're leading by one stroke with one hole to play. The final hole is a par 4 with no hazards to speak of, so it's not like you have to play this hole in a unique way. Your opponent's first tee shot isn't anything special. It's in the first cut, so the odds are incredibly unlikely that he's going to birdie. You go up to the tee and you decide that you're going to use the club that you think is the best club in your bag. You're going off the tee with the 4-iron. The problem? You haven't used the 4-iron all day. You think the 4-iron is your best club, yet we're on hole 18, and this is the first time you've used that club in any capacity. Additionally, you didn't even warm up with the 4-iron, and the last few rounds that you've used the 4-iron, it didn't work well for you at all. You're not playing the best of games by your standards by any means, but you're still up by 1, and all you have to do is not do something stupid. And your tee shots, while not great today from a distance standpoint, have found the fairway every time, which works fine in a situation like this when you're up 1 and your opponent is not on the fairway. So you use the 4-iron, and to the surprise of no one, you completely shank the shot, and it goes out of bounds. And now, you're losing the hole, and you lose the match, because in a situation like that, you decided to go with a club that you hadn't used all day. Well, I bring that up because a situation like that sort of happened in the NFL involving this man right here. This is running back Lawrence Gaines, and he might be one of the biggest what-if stories in NFL history, at least when it comes to the Detroit Lions. The Lions drafted Gaines in the first round of the 1976 NFL Draft, making him the 4th running back off the board. However, he did next to nothing with Detroit, as he only finished his career with 892 yards and 5 touchdowns, never playing again after the 1979 season. While his 1976 season was solid, he had surgery in 1977 on his knee, and he was never the same player after that. So this was a quintessential example of injuries derailing a career, and one injury being so bad that it was impossible to come back from. Having said that, Gaines might be known for 2 things during his tenure with the Lions. The first was the injury history, of course, and how a bad injury just about ruined what could have been a promising career. The second, one of the most inexplicable fumbles in Lions history on one of the dumbest play calls in Lions history. Because during a 1979 game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Lions decided to do something so egregious and so stupid with this man right here in Lawrence Gaines that it deserves a deep dive nearly half a century later. Because this is the story behind what might just be, considering the circumstances, the dumbest play call in Lions history. Make sure you hit that like button down below, subscribe, hype up that video, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel. Because we post every single day on here about the weird and the wacky history of the NFL with stories like this one that you may not have heard of before. So if you like that sort of stuff, then this is definitely the place for you. Thanks in advance for liking and subscribing, and for hyping up the video, and for helping us grow this community. And with that in mind, let's talk about the time that the Lions gained nothing out of Gaines. But before I talk about the play itself and just how dumb it was, we need some context to understand the importance of the game at hand, as well as how this game right here was going. It's November 11th, 1979. It's week 11 of the NFL season. And as we're firmly in the second half of the campaign, we've got an NFC Central battle on our hands up at the Pontiac Silverdome between the Detroit Lions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. To say that this has been a rough season for the Lions would be putting it lightly, as they enter this game with an abysmal 1-9 record, having lost 6 straight games and looking anemic offensively, averaging under 15 points per game, boasting the worst offense in the NFC and the second worst offense in football. Combine that with a porous defense that was the second worst in the conference and inside the bottom 5 in football, and combine that with the point differential of minus 97, which was the worst in football by a fairly comfortable margin, and it's not exactly hard to see why this team was bad. And on paper, it didn't look like things were going to get any better for the Lions against the Buccaneers, who were surprising the football world with a 7-3 record, leading the NFC Central by 2 games. If Tampa won this game against an anemic Detroit team, they'd clinched their first non-losing season in franchise history. And with Tampa favored in this one against a struggling Lions team, it seemed like they were poised to do that heading into the Silverdome, and seemed like they were poised to get the season sweep. However, as we were nearing the end of the fourth quarter, we had an upset brewing on our hands, as the Lions led at 14-6, which, back in 1979, was a 2-score game, seeing as the 2-point conversion did not exist. The Lions' run defense was holding Tampa to under 3 yards a carry. Freddie Scott was having an incredible day at wide receiver, catching 9 passes for 148 yards and a touchdown. And the Lions, following an opening drive touchdown run by Bo Robinson, led the entire way and never seemed to look back. Not many people had Tampa losing to a last-place, 1-win team. But with little time left in the fourth quarter, it seemed, barring a complete choke job, that this was about to happen. With 3 minutes to go, the Lions had the ball up by 5, leading it 14-9 after Tampa Bay got a field goal on their last drive, stalling out in the red zone. And at this point, while this was a good game for Detroit, we need to talk about this thing right here, as in the Lions' ground game. By no means was it great on the day. In fact, it was terrible. Prior to this moment, the Lions had run the ball 24 times for a grand total of just 27 yards, averaging barely over 1 yard per carry. There's no sugarcoating that. To run for that few yards is embarrassing. And even though Tampa Bay's run defense was really good all season, finishing the year 4th in the league in yards per carry allowed, they weren't this good. After the opening drive, the Lions at this point had 15 yards rushing on their last 19 carries, coming out to less than a yard per carry. That's the bad news for Detroit. The good news is that you're up by 5, and you haven't turned the ball over with a fumble. Your running game, as bad as it's been, has held on to the ball well. They haven't put the ball on the ground. Your defense has been playing well, so while getting a first down would be nice, and while milking the clock would be really nice, your odds are still high of winning even if you don't get a first down. All you have to do is hold on to the ball and not fumble. The Bucs have one objective: strip that ball from you however they can. That's pretty much their only way they can realistically win the game at this point. You've held on to the ball the entire game. And that's when this happens.
We'll wrap him up. Loose ball. Loose ball. Tampa Bay has it. Lawrence Gaines fumbles it. Who's got it? Neissiger recovers it.
Neissiger recover the fumble, number 51. They ran a trap inside with the left guard pulling. Homer Elias fumble the ball, and Tampa has a great opportunity with the ball on the 24-yard line.
Tampa Bay now on the Detroit 23-yard line.
Fumble. The Lions do the one thing, literally the only thing, you can't do in that spot. Lawrence Gaines gets the handoff, and he fumbles the ball. 2 plays later, Doug Williams hits Larry Mucker for a 23-yard touchdown to give the Buccaneers a stunning 16-14 lead. As from being down 2 scores with 4 minutes to go, the Bucs, just a couple of plays later, now had the lead and were on the verge of winning their 8th game of the season, and were on the verge of extending their lead in the NFC Central. And you might be thinking to yourself, okay, this sucks for Detroit, but I don't see what was bad about the play. It's a handoff up the middle, and Lawrence Gaines fumbled the ball. It's the same exact play just about everyone would have called in that spot. and it's hard to blame a coach for a running back fumbling. This seems like hindsight bias. The call was fine, the execution sucked, but the call was fine. This is a non-story. And yeah, I'm inclined to agree. This is a complete nothing burger. What this man right here, head coach Monte Clark, decided to do in the waning moments of the game, trying to preserve the lead, was just extremely unfortunate. Except for one small detail. There's just one teeny tiny detail that I forgot to bring up with the run by Lawrence Gaines, called for by this man right here, head coach Monte Clark. And that is, oh yeah, this was Lawrence Gaines' first one of the game. That's right, Gaines was ice cold. No one on the Lions was injured or anything like that, to the point where Gaines was thrust into action out of nowhere. The Lions decided that now, with 3 minutes left and the Buccaneers in force a fumble mode, was the best time to have a player who had just been rotting on the bench the entire game and hadn't touched the ball or gone in there, get a carry. Just throw a player ice cold into the fire and see what the heck happens. Imagine if, in baseball, you pull a pitcher and decide to bring in a brand new pitcher, and the pitcher had not warmed up at all in the bullpen and had not thrown a single warm-up pitch on the mound. That's what this was like. You're bringing in an ice-cold player off the bench in a spot where every player on the Bucs is trying to strip the ball, all while the only contact the player had faced all day up until this point was when a cooling fan hit his shoulder pad, and you did this when you hadn't had any of your running backs fumble all day. But if you think that's bad, then just wait until you hear the explanation given by head coach Monte Clark as to why he decided to do that. Because as Clark said, in one of the most baffling explanations I've ever heard, Gaines is our best inside runner, our best power man. He's like a blocking guard. All we wanted to do was run a couple of plays, get a first down, and keep the ball. If he doesn't fumble, it's a great move on my part. When he fumbled, it showed how smart I almost was. Which raises the obvious question. If Lawrence Gaines is, by your word, your best runner, then why did he not touch the ball for the first 57 minutes of the freaking game? Nothing about this makes any sense. If your strategy was to give the ball to your best runner and your best player, then why didn't you use your best player for the entire game before this? It's not like it's baseball and you're on a pitch count. There's no NFL rule limiting how many snaps a player is allowed to take during a game. It's also not like this was a trick play and you're saving it for the right moment. It's a run up the middle. It's also not like your running game had done anything of note today. Outside of the Bo Robinson touchdown run on the opening drive, you had roughly 1 yard to carry. There were plenty of opportunities to get Gaines into the game. And it's not like Gaines was injured. It's not like he couldn't go the first 57 minutes because he was cramping up and then the trainers magically healed him just in time. If Lawrence Gaines is, by your own admission, the best runner on your team, then to not give him the ball until 3 minutes left in the game, when that is something entirely in your control, seems absurd. And you get why this strategy makes no sense, right? You get why the Lions finished the year 2-14 and ended with the worst record in football, right? At least they got Billy Sims out of it at the 1980 NFL Draft. Either give the ball to Gaines throughout the game if he truly is your best runner, or keep it on the ground with the guys that got you here that haven't fumbled yet. I should note that Gaines had 20 carries for 48 yards in the first 10 games of the season combined, missing none of them due to injury. So if he truly was your best inside runner, then surely you can give him the ball more than 2 times a game. Nothing about this adds up. There are very few times you can blame a coach when a fumble happens on a run up the middle. Very few times you can blame him. This is one of those times. Not just because this was entirely foreseeable, and not just because this was entirely preventable, but because the explanation afterwards was complete word salad and made things somehow even more confusing and befuddling than before. A lot of Niners fans were fuming after Monte Clark was unceremoniously fired after one season. But with logic like this, they might have dodged a bullet. So what did we learn from all of this? If the goal of the game is to put the ball in the hands of your best players, and you admit that one player in particular is your best, then don't give him the ball for the first time 57 minutes into the game. And don't give him the ball an average of twice a game over a 10-game stretch. If the only thing you need to do in order to win a game is hold on to the football, and you put in a running back who hasn't touched the ball all day, when your running backs haven't fumbled all day, you're setting yourself up for failure. And if your grand strategy to winning a game involves saving your best player until there's virtually no time left, and never using your best inside runner until the final 3 minutes, despite running countless times throughout the game up the middle, then you might need to reevaluate your entire freaking strategy. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not done so already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And check out my other channels, JG8 for the history of college football, JG7 for the history of baseball, and JG9 News, where we talk about all things happening in the NFL. Join me every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we'll play live NFL trivia for cash prizes. And make sure to join me live, as we're on stream just about every single day. And thanks to all our Patreon members and our YouTube members for helping out the channel. See how you become a member and show your support financially in the description down below.